Welcome back to the Glassix Spotlight, where today we're delving into the dynamic world of customer experience strategy with one of the field's distinguished experts, Patty Soltis. Patty is a seasoned business leader and a master at crafting exceptional customer experiences. She's recognized for her strategic acumen in aligning CX goals with organizational growth, having sustainability, elevated financial metrics, and satisfaction in every role she's undertaken. Currently spearheading customer experience initiative at Upwork, Patty has been instrumental in marrying CX metrics with financial outcomes to drive value and satisfaction across global markets. Her career is marked by significant achievements, including her time as principal at Kinetic Edge Consultants, where she developed CX strategies that improved profit margins by over 20% for various consumer facing businesses. Patty's approach to CX involves deep data analysis, continuous improvement, and strategic storytelling, making her a vanguard in transforming customer interactions into lucrative business opportunities. Patty, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. And it's so funny to listen to an introduction about yourself.
Well, that was my pleasure, actually. Um, Before we dive into today's discussion, is there anything or recent accolade maybe that you think worth sharing with our listeners?
Yeah, I wouldn't say so much these are my recent accolades, but I have the pleasure of participating in these things. And one of them is that Carl Charisse is releasing a book. I think it's just in the next couple weeks. But he had this brilliant idea of pulling together 16 CX professionals, and we all wrote a chapter for his book on the place that we all have specialties. So my chapter is actually, I believe, the opening chapter to the book. So you'll be able to find that there. It is about CX alignment with the C-suite, and then also Tom DeWitt does an amazing job with the Michigan State CXM program here in the states, and he is hosting the annual conference this year, and it's my second time to come back and I'm speaking. Last year, I did speak about CX alignment with the C suite, and this year, I'm speaking about tying financial objectives to it. So I'm very excited about both of those things. And I just have to say, the reason I'm excited about this is because I've been doing this for 37 years now, longer than probably many of your listeners have been alive. And my goal at this point is really just to help other CX professionals and help them elevate their own careers and get to where they want to go at this point. So I'm very excited and delighted to be able to participate in things like those two other things as well as doing this podcast.
Wow. I just love this approach and I feel really connected. And I think we're off to a great start here. So, for our listeners, today's episode is called Data Driven Dynamics, Patty Soltis' approach to transformative CX. And Patty, I want us to get started with the first question. So, your career is a testament to the power of aligning CX goals with company objectives. Could you share how this alignment has driven organizational growth and exceeded financial metrics in your experience?
Yeah, this is something I figured this out, gosh, very early on in my career, because I started my career in 1987. And I figured this out, like I said, very early on. And one of the things I remember figuring out is I was a department manager for a company here. It's no longer around, but it's called Lord and Taylor. I think they have an online version these days. But I was a department manager for them, and I was in the store really early one morning and looking around, and I started wondering who buys this, what do they do with it, where does what brings them back, so on and so forth. And I received this amazing education from the two sales associates that worked in my department. And on paper, they worked for me. Reality is, I worked for them. And they educated me on this. And it was one of my first forays into understanding the data behind the customer. And I've been able ever since then to always glean and listen in and lean into those pieces of it, because the more I could use data to understand the customer, the better my results always were. So when I was running stores, and I ended up running stores for Lord and Taylor, Marshall Fields, and mostly Neiman Marcus. Um, it just like my results were always better because I understood more about my customers. And any little piece of data I could get my fingers on, I wanted that data to understand more about them. It helped me understand segmentation. It helped me understand my products. It helped me understand timing. It helped me understand placement. It helped me understand the HR functions to all of this. Like all those pieces of data just brought it all together for me. And it just ultimately really helped the results in my retail career because in the good times I had higher results, and in the tough times my results weren't quite as tough as other people's. So that helped. And then when I rolled into consulting, I just went and I taught people how to do this, and it was really fantastic to be able to do that and to help organizations.
Yeah, I think it's incredible, and I'm curious to know a little bit about more in depth to this question, and to add to what you just said, about the different departments, the collaboration with different departments. So you know how to use data, you know how to extract it, and then to improve processes. And then I wonder if you had, like, top of your head, um, an experience you could share and how you collaborated with a different department, using the data you managed to extract.
I did, gosh, I've done that so many times. The first thing that I would say about that, and this was in every circumstances, is this. It was all about the money. It was all about how are we driving financial results. So that was the place to always start is what's out there that we know or that we can learn that's going to help us become more profitable. And that was like the big thing right there was how to do that. I will tell you, when I first started my job at Upwork, my beginning relationships and probably the place where I have the best relationships are with the data team. And it's funny because when I initially interviewed for this job, I interviewed with the senior manager of data for our team. And it was like I had 7 interviews. He was my favorite. And I told him so at the time because this data really helps make the case and it helps me build my financial case. It helps me build my business case. It really helps me show the impact. And I've worked with a member of his team ever since I started in this job. And we have put together some amazing metrics that are just data driven about our customers, about how much our promoters are worth, about how much our detractors are worth, about how much more they spend or how much more they don't spend. We know more about how often they visit us. We know more about how often they purchase from us. We know more about how much a promoter spends when they come to visit us versus a detractor spends. We know the qualitative feedbacks now that really help us understand churn better. And it's really from that partnership and that relationship that we now know all of this information. And I can make a really solid business case as to why satisfaction matters and the financial impact it has on the organization.
Wow, I love that. With your deep expertise in change management and continuous improvement, what are some key strategies you employ to propel financial results and foster dynamic cultures, through enhanced customer experiences?
This is an easy question. This just circles right back to one thing, and it's servant leadership. And I'm not talking about being a doormat, but I am talking about learn the business, understand the priorities. And we think about these things, and I think about, the leaders in the organization, and I actually think about how hard their jobs are. CX people like to complain about how hard their jobs are, and I kind of hear want, 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 want when they start to complain because everybody has a hard job now. So if I can get in and lean in as a servant leader and bring some pieces with me into this and really help them, if I can get into roadmaps, I can get into OPs, strategies, goals, objectives, things like that, tie it all together, and then I can get the data to it and build that business case. Like that's the key thing to it. And the last key to this part right here, and this is really important, is learning their language. There's times when you kind of want to be like, okay, I think I'm, like I got this, I understand this. I can't walk in and do VOC and CJM and things like nobody knows what I'm talking about when I start talking like that. But if I come in and I say that based on the qualitative feedback of this many customers, we are able to ascertain that this is what it is that they're asking for. We know that this is the point right here on the journey where they're having a difficult time. And these are the pain points that are directly related to it. I've got their language down and I'm talking to them in a way that they understand it, and that moves the needle.
I love that. And we also see, by the way, I've been a guest in different podcasts as thought leadership for marketing voice. And I've been doing marketing for 13, almost 14 years now. And this field has also been changing a lot, especially recently.
Hmm.
And I think it's a common kind of issue with marketers as well, that we don't know how to communicate our vision or our needs or our goals to the upper management. And I think that this advice is right for everyone, not just marketers or CX experts, saying understand who are you are confronting. I mean, is this person is more numeric? Are they more they care more about the way they like visualizations? Storytelling is important, but in a sense that you make sense also to your upper management, to the other people in the buying committee that needs to kind of understand what you're telling them.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. And in this whole storytelling piece, I have a lot of thoughts on this part right here. And the first part is that my goals, when I'm working for an organization and I have a business unit that I'm serving, or I have a division of the company that I'm serving, or I have the organization that I'm serving, my goals are their goals. So my goal becomes to find out what their North Star is and how do I contribute to helping them make it. And that's what I mean by servant leadership, is really getting in there and, like, how do I actually help them be more successful? And when I first started in my current role, I said that to some people, and I'm not quite sure they knew what to do with me when I said it. But now that I've been here for a little over a year, they see it, and they see that I am here to support them. Like, that's my job. And I say to them all the time, and we kind of laugh about it. You are my customer. You tell me what you need. My job is to get that for you. My job is to help you make decisions with greater certainty. And so that's what I need to do. So that's why I'm saying their goals become my goals.
Yes, I think it's a win-win-win approach, that for the CX leaders who listens right now. I think that when you approach people, when you approach your job, when you approach your role at the company, in a sense that you are a servant leader, um, you're changing the game. Not just for yourself, you're changing the game for others. And the business outcomes, as you mentioned, they see it, they live it, they breathe it, they know that it's literally working. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not saying any of this is easy. It is difficult, it is complex, and it is hard. But you got to peel those pieces back off and get into the core of what you're doing to make it work. I mean, I look at in my current role, I look at how we are set up, and I am the customer experience person for a particular division. And my peers that are in support roles, there's sometimes 10 of them that are there. And I'm like, there's 10 of you to one of me. And that's kind of crazy when you think about it. That's why I'm saying this is not easy. But I peel that back and I look at where is the impact for this and where financially can I help them impact the business. And that's how I direct my efforts.
completely. Now let's talk a little bit about developing strategic CX solutions. So you emphasize the importance of curiosity in developing strategic CX solution. How has this approach helped you identify and implement effective strategies in competitive markets?
So, that little kid that's always asking why all the time? That was
Yes,
me.
I have one.
Yeah, I was that kid. Why, like all the time. And it's funny because I don't have children, but my nephew was like that, and he asked why all the time. But I happen to know how to answer him. I would say, and he would when he would get to about his third or fourth why, I'd be like, well, why don't you go think about it for a period of time, and I give him 10, 15, 30 minutes, something like that, and you come back and tell me why you think why. But anyway, I've taken that insatiable piece of why and I've just brought it with me. I think part of it is it's just my personality of who I am, but I do always wonder why. I wonder why somebody has the sentiment they do, then why do they have the behavior, and why does it, why is the financial impact there? So I connect those things right there. Sentiment to behavior to financial, and I want to know that piece why. And the other thing that I always want to know, and this is a big one for me, is find out what the hurdles are for my partners, the people that I'm serving, my customers. What's getting in their way? What can be done to help them get to their North Stars? So I wonder about that all the time too. And how can I help them with that? So that takes those soft skills of not just curiosity, but it also takes some listening, it takes some empathy into that, and a lot of learning that comes with it. But it really helps me to be able to follow the trends of the business, follow the trends of satisfaction, and really put business first. And I know the adage that without a customer you can't have a business and so on and so forth. But we work for these organizations and companies, and they have financial and fiscal responsibilities. And we have to be realistic about that. And we have to understand things like we have to understand something like, for example, where the larger penetrations of customers come from, who the most important customers are, and what is their behavior. What is their satisfaction? What's their behavior? What's their financial impact? Those three things keep coming back for me. And it's really driving those three things to get to the North Stars that are set in place that are out there.
Completely. It has a lot to do with marketing as well. We're about to raise our Series A funding real soon, and I've been working a lot on investors and VCs presentations. Trying to portray the company best as possible. And I touched a lot on financials. And one of the things that people or investors or anyone would like to know and to see is who is your biggest customers, how they are segmented, what is the impact they have on your business, what happens if they churn, what happened to your business, how it impacts your business. And I think, again, there are a lot of different connections between marketing and CX, and I think we're also going to see a lot of more connections as we drift into the future. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And here's the controversial thing I'll say about that is the difference I see between the two of them is customer experience impacts, it's got like larger and wider tentacles to it. And I think one of the things that customer experience does impact is marketing. And I think that connection between customer experience and marketing is, gosh, you just got to have it, because those two things really should work in synchronicity.
Completely. Well, maybe one day, I had this vision a while back that CX and marketing might be combined into an elite role within the organization. uh,
Yeah, I think that could be something, but I think this is where I get to the controversial part of it. I think CX has a broader reach,
right.
because we as a you're looking at the entire experience of the customer, that, and now you're pulling in product, in a lot of cases you're pulling in legal, you're pulling in tech, like you're pulling in all these other pieces to it, and marketing is one of those pieces. And I have so much respect for people who do marketing, because it takes a clever, creative, savvy, and also someone who has pretty strong business acumen, and I think that's hard.
I
So
totally
I think
agree, and I'll
there's
just
a
add
lot there.
one more thing. Being resilient is such an important thing in today's marketing world. Being adaptive and resilient, um, and to try and nurture your grit over time, especially nowadays. Again, 2024 was a hard year for marketing, as for in many companies it sees as a cost center, unfortunately. um, but yeah, I'm sure that we can say the same about many other departments, might be even CX in some occasions.
You know what you're making me think of as you're talking about this is the soft skills that are out there because we spend so much time on things that are tactical or strategic, and these soft skills are so important. It'd be really interesting to listen to a panel of experts talk about which soft skills are more important. Maybe listen to them debate a little bit or something. I'd love that.
Yeah, completely. And while we talk about marketing and CX, let's talk about storytelling. So, storytelling is a core element of your method in evangelizing CX throughout an organization. Can you discuss how you've used storytelling to amplify the voice of the customer and influence corporate strategy?
Yeah, because I don't look so much necessarily at it as just storytelling. I look at it as what's the communication strategy? How are you effectively communicating to have impact? Because that makes all the difference in the world. And you've got to be able to have that when we get in front of an executive leadership team, what do we get, 10, 15 minutes maybe? Like, how are you delivering that to pow and to wow that in? You get in front of a group of let's say researchers, for example, they're going to have a ton of questions. Like, how do you adapt and talk to that? So I think that whole communication strategy is a big part of it. And I look at it kind of from that lens with this. But in the end, it comes back to how are you connecting back to what matters? And this, once again, comes back to that whole speaking the language of the people that you're trying to communicate to. And it's not speaking that CX language. It's really just understanding what did they understand? How do you put this in terminology that somebody else is going to get and going to want to act on? And when I think about this, I've kind of followed a formula for this, so to speak, over time. And of course, we all know in CX and in marketing that humanizing what it is that we're doing, how important that is. But my formula is give them an attention grabber, give them three things they need to know, and give them a call to action, because those when you take those three things in consecutive order, it kind of just brings it all together and it tells your story for you. And if you add that humanizing piece, you get it all in there. So your attention getter, that's where you're going to grab them and get them, like, get their information. And that to me is something like what I use there is I use something financial. I use something that's going to matter to my audience. Now, I'm mostly talking to business leaders, so that's why mine is mostly financial. So I'm like, I'll say something about um promoter. I'm just making this up off the top of my head. I might say something about did you know that our satisfaction is declining and that our promoters earn more? All right, wait, let me start that over again. Did you know that our satisfaction is declining, that our promoters spend more and our detractors spend less? So with our declining satisfaction, we're actually giving money away and we're leaving money on the table. And that might be like
It's
my attention.
amazing.
I might throw some statistics
So
inside of there or
so
something like that.
easy. So easy
Yeah,
to digest, even for me.
yeah. But it's going to grab. It's what do you mean we're leaving money on the table? Well, you are. But and then the three things they need to know, those are the three things they need to know about declining satisfaction. Here's the one, two, three top pain points based on, throw the data into it, get it so that it's factual inside of there, remove any doubt of it being an opinion on something like that, and then tell them what they need to do.
I love that. I love that, and it makes total sense. And I have to ask this. I mean, what would be your number one advice to CX leaders who just have to ditch the jargon and just do what you just did? I mean, what would be your number one tip? Because again, I correlate back to marketing, and I know how hard it is to ditch the jargon.
Yeah, I would say be an observer. Listen to how your business leaders are talking to each other and use verbiage that they use. I literally will sit there, Rand, and I'll listen to what people say, and then I'll just reuse their words. Well, you said da 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 da, and you were trying to accomplish da 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 da. This pulls it together,
That's
and
incredible.
it helps. And it just, I'm not. There's people out there that use fancy business terminology and things like that, and I'm just not that person. And I think that actually works in my favor most of the time. But I think just listening to people and then understanding what they're trying to say that they need and use that.
Yes,
And
it
if you don't know
reminds.
which words to use theirs and quote them.
No, no, you make total sense to me right now because it reminds me now when I was working for a startup about 5 years ago, and I was, I had a great relationship with my former CEO. I was reporting to them, and it's like I'm trying to tell you this, and MQL is a marketing qualified lead and an SQL is a sales qualified lead. So then I just ditched the jargon and I said, okay, we're not going to use SQL. We're going to use meeting because you're using meeting, qualified meeting. That's fine. So I'm just trying to see how CX leaders can do the same adoption.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a tricky thing to do. It's not easy. When you said MQL and SQL, I was like, "What is that?" I didn't know what that was. But when you put it in that other terminology, it's easy to understand now. And I think that's what we have to think about. Earlier I said no VOC, no CJM. I don't use those terminologies. Nobody knows what I'm talking about.
True.
And even if I say voice of the customer, they don't even understand that. What they understand is that I looked at 38,000 pieces of qualitative feedback, and out of those 38,000 pieces of qualitative feedback, here were the three most important things.
Yeah,
That they understand.
completely. I think it's a great tip, and I think it's a golden nugget here, because a lot of people are either afraid to ask or they just don't ponder the question on how they can communicate better. And I
Hmm.
think that's a great reminder here.
Yeah, it's
Um,
another one of those soft skills. We should be keeping a list because that's another one of those soft skills that you need to be able to have is effective communication.
completely. Patty, considering your comprehensive background in both consulting and as a practitioner, what are the most common CX challenges you've seen businesses face today, and how do you recommend they overcome them? I mean, let's say you needed to address three top challenges that you see them like returning over and over again.
That's like every day. That's literally like all the time. But I think that that does happen a lot. And I'm going to throw here's another one of these soft skills in there, patience. Because we do see that all the time. I don't think that I'm by any means alone in that, and I don't think my reaction is that unusual to that piece of it. But I do think that that is it. That is part of it. The other soft skill I'd throw into on that one is perseverance, and the third one is adaptability. Because in all three of those things, what you're trying to do is get a message across. And if they didn't understand the message the first time you said it, you've got to adapt it, and you've got to keep going. And that's where the perseverance comes in till they eventually get it, and that's the patience coming in. So it takes really all of those things right there to pull it all together. I look at it this way is that I think about what I want to accomplish in my job, and I thought about this at the beginning of the year, what it was I wanted to accomplish, and I set my own vision up. And my vision was basically to help my leaders be more certain in their decision making process. That's what I want to do. And then I started figuring out what are the ways that I can do that. And I had to lean further into that servant leadership piece. I had to listen harder to get their problems and get to the root of it. And one of the really interesting things I found as a side note is that these people don't feel like anybody's listening to them either. So that was like a bonus right there. That was kind of a relationship builder for me. So I really listened to them. And like doing that really just helped me get in there and help them to overcome some of these challenges that are out there. Getting down to the root of it. I mean, we talk about this with customer problems. You guys talk about it with marketing. Like, you want to get down to the root of it. We have to do the same thing in our organizations when we're working with our partners. Get to the root of what their problem actually is. And I think about these things, and I think about this, and I'm like, okay, this is what I remind myself all the time. Prioritize. Don't try to boil the ocean. Don't try to be everything. Like there's certain things in customer experience I'm not great at. I'm not a great journey mapper. Not my forte. I don't enjoy it. And I think I don't enjoy it because it's probably not my forte. But I'm not trying to go out there and set this amazing journey map into place. What instead I'm doing is I'm soaring with my strengths. I'm great at understanding numbers and I'm great at understanding financial impact. So I'm going with that. Then I'm working on building relationships. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to work on building some more relationships. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to work on building some more relationships. Like it's a really repetitive thing with it. And a really key part of that is getting in there and building trust. And your friend and my friend, Mark Slayton, actually teaches this amazing class on building trust. It's called the Trusted Guide Roadmap Masterclass. And it is phenomenal at understanding this piece of it because it really what you need to do is really get in there and build these relationships with people so that you understand what they need to do and then you understand what you need to do. And those kind of things, God, they go such a long way and they really help you to help the business and help the business overcome the challenges they're facing.
Yeah, I love that. So much value here. I mean, trust, it all boils down to trust eventually. The success of your career, the success of your customers. I love that. There was just a lot of value here. Now, before we wrap up today's discussion, I have to get your thoughts on this last question. We call it a bonus question. Um, what's a recent technological advancement that you initially doubted but has since proven to be invaluable to your CX strategy?
Okay, so this is the time I'm gonna give you a little bit more of a roundabout answer to this, and that is this: the power of data, all forms of it, where it sits, how it comes together, how it helps you tell a story. And this is the tech piece right here, is how that tech can help you make the data understandable and how sometimes you need to get multiple platforms in place to really understand what it is that's happening. I mean, I look at data in three different sites for my organization today. I don't think that's that unusual, but you've got to get in there and really start to understand those pieces of it. And if you're looking at data, you might be looking at financial data in one place, you might be looking at customer data in another place, and you might be looking at strategic data in yet a third place. And how do you tie all those things together? Well, and that's where these various pieces of tech and these various platforms that are sitting out there, they can help you bring that all together and tell that story. But you've got to get into the tech and learn what's out there and what's available to you to be able to do it. Because let's be straightforward here. It's a business. It's about money. It's about shareholder returns. It is about dividends. It is about VCs getting their return on investment. It's about a whole bunch of things, but it is all coming back down to that almighty financial piece that's right here. And so when you get into these pieces and you start understanding the different data that's out there in the different places that it's in, and you can use that tech and you can zoom through it and you're more adept at using this, it really helps you to get into those pieces of it and to really build the value proposition for the customer, to build the value proposition for customer experience and build the value proposition for the organization.
Wow. Thank you so much. Well, Patty, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It was a great pleasure. Anyone who's interested to follow Patty's journey, you're more than welcome to follow her LinkedIn profile. This episode will be live next week. Patty, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh yeah, thank you too. And yeah, I forgot to mention that you can find me on LinkedIn, and I think I'm pretty sure I'm the only Patty Soltis there, so not hard to find me.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
I did. Thank you so much, Patty.
All right. Thank you so much.